So here are the workshops. Now with the workshops, you'll notice that the first one is actually not part of the vision, which is effective communication. And again, this is actually one of the things that we as a group went away with and stipulated.
These are the parents, by the way.
Yes, as the parents who had nothing to do with actually doing anything on the vision itself. But we came together and said, and reported back to Mark that we said, you know, this is great, but there are some issues with communication, and we feel that this needs to be part of this process. It sits alongside, and if not, and actually heads the process, the communications, because we acknowledge that there are problems. And with that, that will actually be a different kind of workshop, because we're going to have decision makers in the room, and it's going to be a live type thing. So if we can come up with some great ways of bettering the school-based communication. I mean, as a group, we came up with, obviously, work on the website, the school website. For instance, one of the examples was that I wanted a bit of information, and it was said it was in a past spiral. How can I get my hands on that particular past spiral? If there's a back catalogue that you can search, that would be a wonderful thing, you know. There's also, we've talked about the Steiner yellow pages, or the Steiner pages, where parents that have skills or whatever can put them up there. So as a community, if you need a plumber, if you need a great masseuse, whatever it is, you can go to your own community. But also then the school can also look at it and say, we need some advice on this. There's these wonderful people, hopefully it won't cost us much. And then we can, really, it's again that community and using that strength. In fact, when you talked about community, it was funny, when I first came to the school, I walked into the school and looked and said, this does not look like a school, it looks like a village. The buildings and everything, it was quite amazing. And that's, I think, again, that's just the architectural part of what this community is. And so that will be a pretty important workshop, and I beg of anyone who feels feels strongly about that communication and has something to add to that, please come along. It's going to be, we can't see it as being one of the big workshops, and again it will be the workshop where decisions will be made. That was, we will have people that say yes, we can do that. We will action that. So it'll be the thing that's going to happen the fast. You'll see that it happen the fastest, and it'll be pretty important. And then obviously you see you've got all these other ones which are going through the key parts of the vision. And so whatever parts of those, if there's a part that you're not ready to talk about the high school or whatever it is, you don't have to come to that. But whatever you feel passionate about, please come to that, because your input is wanted. That's why the board. That's why they've come to you and said we need your help. We know we can make this better. And that's pretty important. So now with this, we've got there will be actually forms in you're actually going to be handed forms. So is there an example of form? Sure. Sorry. So this will be for every workshop in this information. There will be forms that are handed out, and as you can see, there are areas underneath which are the next level down from the heading. It's broken down into these areas. There's areas where you place a bit of your thoughts, ideas, whatever you feel passionate about. And there's another area where if there's something missing, maybe they've missed something completely, and you can put that in. And of course it's not restricted to this. If you've got a few pages, fill them out. But it's not a case of, here's my idea. It would really be good to be in that workshop and share that idea, and again try and make it better by being with those people and getting that group of people fired up about whatever it is that you're going on. Now with the workshop, the way we're going to be running the workshop is called was it appreciative inquiry. Now a lot of you, I don't know if you've heard of it, I hadn't heard of it before. It's a process of where it will be based on this part of the school is good, how can we make that better? So it's appreciating what we've got and then growing that and making it better. So what we're trying to the other way that you can come at something is what's wrong with the school, and then how can we fix it? The problem is we can get stuck in this big, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and get buried in that. But maybe you've got something you're really passionate about, so rephrase it. And the school does this, I think, really well, but I think it could be done better if it was done like this. So
one practical example of that I found quite helpful that one of the parents came up with was that, that in the high school there's a particular class that does communication really well, and that there are obviously other classes in the school where not so much. And the appreciative inquiry approach is to look at the example of the class that's doing that really well and say, how can we export what's working there to other places, rather than going to those other places where it's not so good and saying what's wrong and how can we fix it. So I think that's kind of the general idea of appreciative inquiry.
And there will be, I'm trying to think of the name of the person, there will be a facilitator, sorry. There'll be a facilitator there that will help keep everyone on track and make sure that that everyone stays focused on the actual task. So the other thing is there's a form regarding which workshops, an RSV feed basically. Because the only real reason we're asking for that is we're trying to find the right space. Obviously, if we have a workshop with 20 people or 10 people, this probably wouldn't be a great place to hold it in. We're thinking of the library and stuff like that for a nicer area, and also room to go off in those groups and talk about things. So it's purely just looking at where we need to be. And when we talk about wanting that back by, it's
first week after the beginning of next term?
Yeah, first week after the beginning of next term. We really would like to know, because it's obviously that it's quite hard to book rooms in the school and make sure that we've got the space. So I'm not sure if I've covered everything, but I feel I haven't. So now, I suppose the big thing is our opportunity to ask questions. So,
we'll just make two more comments. So one of them is that, there's a lot of work that's gone into this. There's still a very high level thing, so there's not a lot of detail here, but that's what a vision is like. So as Mike said, it's about the destination, it's not about how we get there. But if you have other sort of burning issues that are up for you, that you want to engage about, that are not part of the vision, and it may seem to you at the time that they are. One example that actually I think Mary brought up, which I think is a good one, is about, well, why do we do German in the school? We're still going to be doing German in 15 or 20 years. What's the point? And it's a great question, and it deserves a conversation. But it's not actually part of the vision. The vision is at the next level up from that. But if you were to bring along that question, we are still listening. Part of what we want to do is make sure that we capture those concerns. We're in a consultation process. It's very specifically about the vision, but it doesn't mean we're not interested in what you bring forward, even if we can't deal with it at the time. And then on the other side of that, you may have things which you think are really important that are part of the vision, which the consensus isn't going to support. And it could be the consensus of the group. Say it was the high school idea and it was some part of the vision in the high school, and actually you had your idea and everybody else thought something different. Well, then obviously it's not going to necessarily get back to the board and the trust and the college to review if that's the case. Although obviously it could. And then there's another step that's going to happen after all of this, where we've got to take all your feedback from all the workshops, go away in a corner and try and figure out how we can make our vision better out of all of that feedback. And that's a task we've got to do. And then, so the last workshop is we're going to present that back to you and say, okay, we've done our work. We are going to video all the workshops. So you will see the introduction to each workshop and the summary of each workshop will be on the website. So that means that effectively we're making ourselves accountable, because you'll be able to see what happens. If you're interested, you'll be able to see, okay, so that was the workshop, here's the report back. Do those two things seem to have any relationship to each other? And the reason I mention it is I think the idea of accountability for the vision really matters. Because if a vision matters at all, it matters because it comes to life in the school. And actually it's the board and the trust and the college that hold the primary responsibility for bringing it to life. We don't create it. If it's going to be shared, it's going to come for all of us. But I do want to be clear that we are making a really serious effort here to hold ourselves accountable to you for your effort to contribute to a better vision.
The other thing is also, if you can't make it to a particular meeting that you're passionate about, I mean, that's life, get someone else to be your mouthpiece, basically. Put your thoughts and all that type of stuff down, have a discussion. If we can go away from here and everyone have these little discussions about, oh, I'm excited about this because of these types of things, even if you can't make it, get someone else to stand up and put your point of view. So someone that you can share your vision with, and that maybe you feel you have a shared vision with them about these particular things, so that you are still being heard. Because that's what's important. That's why we designed it like this, because we're really, the board, it's all putting our ears on, and it's again this communication, which is really important. So.
And for anybody who might be interested in coming to the workshops and isn't here today, so doesn't have the opportunity to come to an introductory workshop, the website's basically got this information on it. So if you just let them know where that is and encourage them, they can download their own version of the feedback form, and they're still welcome to come along to the workshops. And
the other thing is, it's not just parents. I mean, I know within the school that the children themselves will be doing work on the vision and in actual class time, which is great. And that also grandparents or past pupils, all that type of stuff, we're spreading it out a bit further, because obviously there's lots of knowledge, lots of experience that we would like to share. So I think that's quite important. Thank you.
So, any questions? Any questions? Yes. Yeah, I think the core thing there, that you use the word supposed, and that the truth is that we're not going to not become a Steiner school because of what anybody outside our school says. We have a college of teachers and a Rudolf Steiner Schools Trust who are deeply responsible for understanding what a Steiner school means right now in Auckland, in this school, and what it's going to mean in the future. That's actually their work as professionals, is to understand those questions. I think so. I don't share the same fear that that's likely to happen, nor do I share the fear that anything that you're going to bring is going to alter that. I think that it's going to go through a process of being absorbed and digested, metabolized essentially, by people who have deep knowledge and experience and understanding of what Steiner education is and what it might mean in this place at this time. And I would make one observation, just as a chairperson of the Board of Trustees, about all of this, is that I think that what part of what makes a real Steiner school is that we work to understand that question for ourselves. It's not free. You have to actually dedicate yourself to it. And there is no right answer to that question. I'm sure that Steiner schools can sort of drift away, but I don't think that's at all what's going on in this school. I think the deepening of understanding is very alive. And I think people who come from overseas who have professional involvement in Steiner education into this school will comment on that fact. There's a lot of work going on here in real depth. And at the same time, I would encourage any of you to bring your own understanding of what Steiner education is into this process. And obviously to encourage one another to do your homework, because we've done ours. We really have. A lot of work has gone into this in real depth. And so we're asking for improvement, but we're not going to change anything because you ask for it. We'll change it because we believe it's going to make us into a better Steiner school. It's the only reason. Any other questions? Sure.
What do you envision the end result is going to be in terms of physically? So you've got that central theme, you've highlighted those various areas. This is going to look like for example, living water